If you're a solopreneur who, despite putting in 1 to 2 years of hustle into that online business of yours, you're at a crossroads where the constant grind feels increasingly heavy. Maybe your sales are flatlined or your audience growth is stagnant, and that financial needle isn't moving despite you trying every must do tactic that crosses your path. That mental toll is real. Almost every day brings waves of self doubt and questioning, those nagging thoughts of whether or not to throw in the towel. It's harder to stay motivated and focused. The isolation hits differently too. Your loved ones, although well meaning and want to support you, there's a gap that they can't bridge because they haven't walked the solopreneur path themselves. You're what I call the tidally persevering solopreneur. And I know this because that was me. So this podcast is made for you. Hey, I'm Frankie J, and I'm all about enhancing the lives and businesses of coaches and solopreneurs through tech, through strategy, and support. But what does enhancing really mean, right? Well, I take away that confusion of what your next step is that actually moves that needle. I take away the frustration of the tech that you're using in your business. And I take away that overwhelm of feeling like you're doing it all alone. And what I want to do with this first episode is a bit of an introduction. So, what you can expect from this podcast, what you can expect from me, and what I've got coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. My ultimate goal is for you to leave this podcast in a better state or frame of mind than when you started. So you have that confidence to go out and crush that solopreneur journey, both from a business and a personal perspective. Because as a digital solopreneur or coach, your business and your life, they're in it together. So when one suffers, they both suffer. So through this podcast, I'm going to focus in on the 4 main areas that I believe are key to you having a thriving business and life as a solopreneur. And these are an enhanced mind, an aligned strategy, smart technology, and ecosystem integration. And if you were listening very carefully, they spell out the word ease, because that's what I'm always striving for. Not that things are easy, but they're done from a state of ease. And in turn, you'll be able to create a positive impact in your life, in your business, and for those around you. This is the basis for everything I'll talk about. The pillars, the foundation, if you'd like to call it that. And there's going to be a mix of solo episodes and then some interviews with the amazing coaches and people who have built me up that are in my circle. But I guess what I want you to know first up is you've been led to believe by the gurus out there that this tech tool is the answer, or that certain marketing tactics are dead, or manifesting is the only thing you're missing, and you just need to be more consistent. You get the idea, right? But as you listen to this podcast, you'll quickly realize that your business does not live or die by the next new tool or technique the gurus say you have to implement. It's actually a whole ecosystem, a whole universe with you at the center. But you're not alone. So what can you expect from me? I'm going to do my best to keep it real, to show you the good, the great, and for lack of a better word, the shit we solopreneurs go through. But to give you a brief background on how I know all this, I, over the last 8 years, have gone through starting up my in-person smartphone video business, through starting up and into a growth stage of my digital business, all while doing this as the sole income earner to support my family. And the great thing was it allowed our family to move to somewhere where we wanted to live, not because there was a job that tied us there. Unfortunately, all of this led to burnout and depression. But through my journey of finding sobriety, scaling back what I was doing for clients, leaving social media from a business perspective for quite a long period of time, and figuring out who and how I wanted to support people going forward and starting my new business, well, I'm going to talk about it all, the tips, the tools, the techniques, the strategies for having that thriving business and life in the long term. So you get to know me a little bit. Here are 4 quick fun facts about me. So I'm a wife and a mum with 2 elementary school-aged kids living in the North Island of New Zealand. I'm a surfer, and fun fact, I've only ever seen a shark out in the water while surfing once. It's something people often ask, have you ever seen a shark out there? And for those who know sharks, it was a bronze whaler, which are pretty common around here where I live. And He or she popped up to the surface, cruised around for a bit, and then ducked back down, to which I decided my session was done. Quickly but calmly paddled back to shore and yelled out to the other surfer who had also seen it, I don't need to be shark baked. I have 7 tattoos, 4 of which you can see whenever I'm on camera. And I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd. So much so that on my 40th birthday, I met Boba Fett. So Temuera Morrison, I can never say his name properly, but I was in Ahipara and he was at a cafe, and on the inside I was totally losing my cool, but on the outside I thought I was holding it all together, and went up to him and said, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm a massive Star Wars fan. My 40th birthday is today, and I'm having a Force is Strong When You're 40 party tomorrow, and oh my gosh, you're Boba Fett. Now, when I say that back, it doesn't sound like I kept my outward cool whatsoever, but he was really kind and was like, come on then, and brought me in for a photo, which now sits on my mantle. But you might be wondering, great, I know a little bit about you, but what's coming up? What's in the mix for the next couple of episodes? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have a few various things I want to go into, and I'll be doing episodes to start with, like cleaning out the clutter in your business and your life so you can start 2025 in the right frame of mind. 5 steps to create and launch your online course in 2025. 5 ways to beat overwhelm and fear so that you can thrive as a solopreneur. I'm going to deep dive into those 4 key elements that I spoke about earlier. And I'm going to be diving into a bit around sobriety and entrepreneurship, but more around the angle of what needs to change for you in order for you to thrive. So if those sound like they're up your alley, then make sure you follow this podcast. But before I wrap up this episode, I wanted to let you know about a really cool opportunity I've got for you. So if you thought this episode was great and you want to give me 5 stars right now, absolutely feel free. But if you want to dive into some episodes over the next month, I've already got 1 episode other than this one ready to go, and you leave me a review, listen to them, leave me a review, I'm going to put you into the draw for winning one of my programs. So the programs that I have up for offer are the Master Filming Videos Using Your Phone in Just 5 Steps, the Freedom to Succeed with Video, which is all about removing those barriers that we put on ourselves, like fear on camera, imposter syndrome, other unhelpful thoughts when it comes to creating videos, and the Map Out Your Online Course workshop. So I'm going to choose 3 people who leave me a review. I'm going to put names into a hat. And hey, I'd love a 5-star review, but more importantly, I want you to leave an honest review with a few words about why you love the show. If it's 5 stars, great. And just leave your review before February 14th, and you'll go into the draw to win one of those programs. So remember how in the beginning I told you you're likely the tiredly persevering solopreneur? Well, this podcast is going to be a weekly dose of advice for the solopreneur business journey wherever you're at. So you can go from that tiredly persevering solopreneur to a thriving solopreneur. So make sure you follow this podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.